to Vicky Richmond. Now, Vicky is from a blog which is called The Carpenter's Daughter. Vicky, hello, good morning.
Hello, morning.
Morning. Tell me about The Carpenter's Daughter. What is it?
Well, really, I'm actually a novice. A lot of people assume that I've learned skills from my dad, but truth be told, I didn't pay attention at all growing up down his woodyard. And it's all about really just me documenting how I've moved into my first house and having to learn things from scratch because I'm not up north anymore. I'm in the Midlands, which is south to me. Yeah. And when I rang around for quotes for certain jobs, my parents just laughed their heads off at the prices.
Yes.
And said, "Oh, you don't need a professional for this, that, or the other." Like when we stripped the wallpaper off, and I exposed big cracks, and I just thought it was the end of the world. So it's really just me sharing from a novice's perspective.
I mean, you start with stripping off the wallpaper. Some people will say, how do you do that? Other people will say they know exactly how to do that. First of all, you use a scraper, but you also use that horrible big steaming machine thing. I remember using that. I remember using that for a whole weekend. And I think I remember my then husband by mistake resting his cheek on it. He never did that again because it's boiling hot. But it basically gives the wallpaper a sauna, doesn't it? Until the wallpaper eventually becomes all wet and horrible, and you can strip it off. So I have done that. I do know about that. Did you use one of those? Did you know how to use it?
I did actually. In fact, it was scary to start off with, and it's trickier when you're doing it on the ceiling. Yeah. But once you get the hang of something, because the drips can hurt.
Yes, yeah.
But once you, to be honest, I just got into a role. Everybody told me just do one room at a time, but while it was in my hand, I went mad and did every room because there were wood chip wallpaper everywhere, and it was disgusting. But I think it's just really building confidence and just weighing up the risks of whether, what kind of damage you can do. There's not really a lot you can do with a wallpaper stripper apart from keeping it topped up with water.
Tell me about the wallpapering, though, because we've heard now that Dunelm is manufacturing a self-adhesive wallpaper, so you don't even need a wallpapering table anymore.
To be honest, I'm probably not the best person to speak to about this because I hate wallpaper in general, but the only time I've wallpapered is a really tricky area with a high ceiling around the stairs. I have done it before. I would do it again, but I quite like the idea of that. But I would stick to traditional methods because I think it's cheaper. I'd much prefer to learn and be independent the traditional ways. But yeah, I can imagine it being ideal for some people.
So what have been the most popular things on your blog, the skills that people have been most interested in watching you learn and then copying and acquiring?
I think it's the bigger projects that look huge, but they're not actually, they're certainly not as hard as woodworking, for example. Like I laid a patio in my back garden.
Well, that's impressive.
In fact, also, I did a step to that, and I've had a lot of people message me to say I've built the same step as you, and it looks really scary because of the size of the project. But those are the ones that impress people the most. And all you have to do is just make sure you dig a certain amount of topsoil. As long as you know what to do, then you're fine. And buy some patio slabs that you can handle. So that made life so much easier. So yeah, definitely the patio and my steps.
Now, you see, one of the things that used to come along with DIY were tremendous marital spats when usually, because in those days, things were much more delineated along sex lines. And it was usually the husband who was meant to do, putting up the shelves, or was meant to strip the wallpaper, was meant to complete some job about the house DIY style, and wouldn't. And so you'd have this kind of conventional picture of the wife nagging the husband to finish the, putting up the wardrobes in the spare bedroom, or sanding the floor in the hall, or whatever the husband was meant to do. The wife was always cross with the husband for not doing it. But as we were saying the other day, when because they're going to stop adverts, television commercials being unravelled along the old-fashioned sexist lines, and in those days, the Black and Decker toolkit, or whatever it used to be called, the Black and Decker workmate, was always aimed at the bloke, never the woman. So it was never, listen, if you want the DIY finished off, just do it yourself, woman. It was always wait for the man and keep on nudging him and nagging him and driving him crazy until he does it. So what does your dad think of you doing all this stuff?
He's probably a typical Yorkshire bloke. He doesn't express much emotion about it, but a lot of family members tell me he is proud. And he's not the chattiest of people. So when we meet each other now at weddings and stuff like that, he's been encouraging me to go down to his wood yard and show me how to do his way of working with sheds. So it's definitely. I'm pretty sure he's proud of me.
Well, that's good to know, Vicky, that you've made your dad proud. That is Vicky Richmond. Her blog is called The Carpenter's Daughter. And she said that she bought a house up north, obviously. Who can buy a house down here? But anyway, she bought a house and she said to her parents, who do I get in to do this for me? They were horrified. Get someone in. They said, learn to do it yourself. DIY. And the headline today is all about people of this generation, whether it's millennials or whoever they are. Shops offer the do it for me generation some handy home fixes. So I'm asking you about, your life skills, what you were taught to do at the age at which you were taught to do it. I was discussing with Ole. He says he knows how to mend a car, change a tyre. He can mend a broken television. He can wallpaper a room. He can do all of that stuff. Why? Because he was shown how to do it. Some of it by an uncle who could do that kind of